Hello everybody, how's it going? Awesome Soul here, and welcome back to Robocraft. In today's episode, I will be talking about the upcoming mass and damage changes that will be dropping in Thursday's update. So, what exactly are these changes? Well, in the Strut Your Stuff update, again, like I said, on Thursday, we will be getting some new changes to basically how damage functions for area of effect weapons. That would be the flak, the lommel, as well as plasma, of course. So, for those of you who don't know, the current system isn't actually an area of effect. It's more so a damage channeling, I guess you could call it. The way it works is raycast, I think is what they call it. So basically, when you fire a blob of plasma down on the ground, and you know how it makes the circle around it, or the sphere rather? Well, basically, the first cube on a robot that sphere makes contact with, all of the damage from that plasma blast will channel into that single cube, and then spread to other cubes from there. So it's not really an area of effect, it's kind of like a simulated area of effect. I think they used to do that, or, well, they have done that for quite a while, but then they're changing it over. The reason they did that, I believe, was to cut down on lag, but now they've actually sort of tweaked their system and upgraded Unity versions, and they think they can handle it. So hopefully it goes well. And what they're changing to, obviously, like I said, is a actual area of effect. So what this does, seemingly anyway, is, you fire the blob of plasma down like you normally would, but then any cube inside that area, the little plasma sphere, will be taking damage. So it's not channeling in one cube, it's basically damaging everything inside that. Now, we don't exactly have specifics yet. We'll just kind of have to wait and see how it goes. My guess is the closer you are to the sphere, the more damage it would do to the cube or part. So if your gun, for example, is at the very edge of the explosion, it's going to take less damage than something that would be directly hit, which would take the full damage. That's my guess, anyway. Now, what do I think of this personally? I think it's pretty cool, I hope, because, I don't know, there's always that doubt in my mind. It's got me thinking like, Mega Plasma has actually been in a good spot for once in its life. When it was first introduced, it was terrible. And then they changed it over to another system, and it was terrible. And it's finally been good, and I've been loving it. But is this going to mess up my precious plasma? I certainly hope not. Any thoughts from you guys on this whole area of effect thing? Are you scared it might mess things up? And any other concerns you might have with it? Oh yes, also, this essentially gets rid of Triforcing. Or at the very least, it's going to be far less prevalent in builds, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because it means that you don't have to make these cookie-cutter builds to be viable anymore. You can, get a bit more creative without having to be a Tesseract or a drone, and that's it. If you want to be MLG Pro, you have to go with a Tesseract or a drone. And speaking of Tesseracts, their armor system that they use, basically like a really weak but weaved pattern, that was really taking advantage of the way the old damage system works, where you shoot the cube, and it basically goes and sort of spreads out from there. This one, especially with flak, is probably going to shred off all of the armor in one go. All of the outer armor, anyways, because that kind of armor, I forget what it is, the really tiny spiky one, it's got a very low amount of health on that, so I can see flak being pretty good after this update, especially when it comes to taking out drones, which I'm sure a lot of people will be very happy about. Except for the people that like drones. Then I feel sorry for you guys. Sorry. Anyways, moving on to the weight changes, the other half of this little news article we have here. I guess I could call it a news article. I'm never quite sure what to call these things. Anyways, so weight changes are coming. But I'm sure you're saying, wait, see what I did there? Wait. Anyways, wait a minute, Awesome Soul. Didn't we get weight changes before? And yes, you would be right, but that was just for weapons. Now, we are getting changes to tank tracks and mech legs. So, what they were saying here is because of the old system, the whole damage channeling system that I detailed a little while back, we were, or they were, rather, needing to increase, or have, rather, the weight of them incredibly high, just so they weren't taken advantage of, I guess, and basically, you know, you would use all that spam on your bot. Basically, I've seen it before. It's basically just tank tracks and tank tracks and tank tracks and tank tracks as armor. Now, they weren't really that effective, but they definitely could absorb a lot of explosions. They weren't quite as good against direct damage weapons, though. So, at least that was my experience fighting them. If you guys rather have ever come across one of those things, give me your experience fighting them. Do you agree with the whole description they're saying here? With the whole anti-gunbrella and armor mechanics and all that jazz? I could detail it, but you know, I think you guys should read it for yourself. Anyways, what do I think of these changes to tank tracks and legs? Well, it will definitely give tank tracks some much needed love, because it specifically says here that thrusters will now actually work with them. So what I do like about this in particular is the fact that you can now sort of tweak your build to your liking a lot more when it comes to legs and tank tracks. Because before, it was basically plonk down your tank tracks, and that was your only option. You couldn't really do much else. You got, you know, thrusters and all, but it was really just for aesthetics, because they added no thrust to your vehicle. So the Mammoth tank tracks, the largest one, is only 7% of the original total, which is a very considerable drop in weight, which is quite nice. So that's basically double-ish of the chain shredder. So they're still fairly heavy, but you can fly with them if you wanted to. So I guess helicopter tanks are now a viable hybrid? Well, I use viable loosely. But anyways, the legs as well. My babies. The mech legs are also getting the same thing. The Colossus ones are only just under 8% of the original total weight. And likewise, you can also fly with these, and you can also use thrusters with these. So what I'm really looking forward to is basically adding proper mech warrior / battletech style jump jets to my mechs. Or at least some of them. Anyways, I'll probably be making new ones that utilize that. My only concern here is balancing. And I don't mean like, you know, stat-wise. I mean like actual balance. Especially with tank tracks, which already had wobbling issues to begin with. Is this going to basically make them unplayable with how floppy they would be? I certainly hope not. They still have some decent weight to them, but I don't know if it's that considerable, because they were essentially unflippable when going off a ramp, which was pretty nice. But now they might do a steep nosedive, which, I don't know about that. And of course, mech legs. I assume that they're auto calm assist, or whatever you call it, that's built into them. You know, like you jump up and you get knocked about, they would auto stabilize. That's what I'm talking about. I assume that would help them out a lot still when they get this weight drop. So I'm not quite as concerned with them. But I'm always concerned when they play around with any stats. There's always a little voice in the back of my head saying, oh, don't mess this up, don't mess this up, don't mess this up. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. So, in the end here, I just want to say that this update is nothing extreme, but it's a lot of little things that sort of come together and sort of really matter, I guess you could say. Adds a decent chunk of new things to the table without really adding anything major. which we should be getting in the next update. If all things go to plan, we should see the sprinter legs. Anyways, I've waffled on for far too long in this video, so I will go ahead and end it here. Give your thoughts down below, as always. I definitely do like hearing from you guys. So, with that, I've been the Awesome Soul. I thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.